Yeah, I know.
Well, this is Jay Nanda with San Antonio Metal Music Examiner with Examiner.com, and we are privileged to be on the tour bus of Overkill Monday, April 26, 2010, just a couple hours before the legendary thrash group Overkill is going on stage, and we are here with original singer Bobby Blitz Ellsworth. How you doing, Bobby?
What do you say? How's everything?
Awesome. It's great to be with you. And just right off the bat, I want to let you know I had the privilege of doing a phone interview with you back in November.
All right.
It's one of the funniest interviews I've had. You were back at home cooking, and your neighbors were yelling right off the bat. I don't know if you remember that.
Off the back?
Yeah, no, right off the beginning of the interview, your neighbors were kind of yelling after I asked you the first question. And it just went from there. It kind of set the tone for the whole interview.
I do remember this. And we had to keep restarting, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't too bad. I mean, obviously, I've been doing this, interviewing athletes, coaches, and musicians for 21 years, and it's like one of the funniest interviews I've ever done.
I think we were, you called, you had a call somewhere between 6:30 and 7.
Yeah, it was a night interview.
I become chef teller.
Yeah, I can tell you were cooking. And we're going to get into Bobby's cooking in a few moments. I'm going to ask him about that. For those of you who don't know, he's practically a chef. But here we are, 25 years of Overkill, and a lot of bands would come out and, celebrate a greatest hits thing, or hey, we've been around for 25 years. Overkill went the opposite route and released one of the heaviest records they have ever done. Ironbound was released on February 9th. And it's your 15th studio album, and it just, in my opinion, it's easily a top 5 Overkill record, maybe even top 3. But let's hear it in your words. What do you think of Ironbound?
Well, since we talked in November, obviously it was really fresh in my head because we were just recently got the mixes back from Peter Tackgren, who mixed it in Sweden, of Hypocrisy fame. That's his band, but he's also done other metal acts for mixing Arch Enemy, Destruction, did with Overkill. And we thought Peter did a great job in it. We were real excited, delivered in November, and before the end of November, you and I were talking. But, it's hard to be really objective with things when it's that fresh, because you think it's the best thing since canned beer, but, it takes time. What ended up happening was we started our tour in Europe on February 6th in the Netherlands, and we got into the song Bring Me the Night, which is the 3rd track on Ironbound. And this kind of showed the impact to me, and that impact was based on the audience knowing the song, or a majority of them. The record was released about a week earlier in Europe, or 10 days maybe. So with a 4-day buffer before the show, and not having to sing the song, I said, I guess we got something here. It's a great telltale sign, people are that into it. So we see the same response in the U.S. We're doing a 30-day U.S. run right now, and there's, people know the new stuff, and this is, I remember this being one of the times when I've signed more new records, not where the tour is necessarily promoting the record, but, guys like yourself have promoted the record prior. E1, Bill Mice, who's done all press for this, put it together, has done a great job, so people know this record's out there, and they're accepting it, obviously, with open arms.
Right. And thank you to Bill Mice for setting up this interview and the one in November, but... So, in your own words, how would you, I know it's hard to compare, and like you said, a lot of bands say our newest stuff is our best. How would you compare Ironbound to the backlog of Overkill records you've done?
Well, I think it obviously stands up, because Overkill is what Overkill is. Some of the nuances that are obviously different are some different vocal textures on my end. Some of the other things that are different are Dee Dee's arrangements, the Peter production on it. So how does it stand up against everything else? I think it's going to stand up against everything else. But I'm gonna take the easy way out here and say, give me a year to see, because when you start comparing all the other records, it kind of does everything a disservice to throw it in there and say, it's the best. I've always been one of those guys to kind of enjoy the ride. You know what I mean? There is no destination. It's all about the ride. Joy's in the journey. So I think that if we're doing something a year from now, another project, I'll be able to understand where this kind of fits in. I do have high hopes for it to be in the top 5, though.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Overkill is playing, you guys were scheduled to play 29 out of the 30 days here in April live. I think there was a cancellation in Vegas, so you're playing 28 out of 30 days.
You're a really informed dude.
It's my job to do that, to keep people informed, but I'm doing my best. But 28 out of 30 days, that's an insane schedule. How have you guys kept it going?
I did. Our record is 43 and 42. We did 43 shows in 42 days. We did a matinee for the Kiddies in Chicago, and then we did a nighttime show, too. It's not really that hard. It's you know, when you cop a routine, you know, when you start getting a routine from day to day, the shows become like, you know, vacuum tight. And that's really what our goal is out here, is to really present the band at the highest level. I mean, we're real competitive people, you know, we're like sports fanatics and everything. We apply all that competitiveness for what we like with regard to sport to us playing here. And there's a bunch of young bands on this tour that have a lot of giddy up, you know. and you know, my idea is, you know, I mean, great compliments. You've been around for 25 years. I said, yeah, it's cool, but I plan on burying you tonight and tomorrow night. But you take that attitude into the game, that competitive, even friendly competitiveness, I think it helps. So doing shows consecutively has never been a problem for me. I've never really lost my voice. And physically, it actually keeps you in better shape because you get that 90 minutes of cardio from day to day. Allows me an extra couple of Marlboros.
Well, that's funny because in the November interview, I asked you how you keep your voice in shape, and you laughed because apparently you were lighting up a Marlboro as I asked you that.
Yeah, right.
So that's pretty funny, but...